Chapter 1 My Life as a Penguin. It was a city of snow. The glaciers were its skyscrapers, the floating ice sheets its roads, and the thousands of penguins barking along the seashore its remarkably well-dressed, tuxedo-clad citizens. Bolt Waddle, people called him Bolt, back when there were other people around to call him anything, was almost 13 years old, but not quite, and he was a penguin, but also not quite, and certainly not at that very moment. He sat in the snow on top of a small hill, wearing only a pair of old sweatpants and a thin t-shirt. That outfit would be quite insufficient to keep anyone else comfortable on this frozen tundra, but Bolt was cozy. He couldn't feel cold. However, he could feel the thoughts of his penguin brothers and sisters waddling along the shore, although he was not one of them. Not truly. He would never lay an egg, or at least he hoped he wouldn't. He would never molt. He would never dive beak first into the near-freezing sea during the afternoon. Instead, he would only dive beak first into the near-freezing sea at night, under a full moon. But those nights were the only times he didn't feel like an outsider. For on those nights, Bolt would swim with his family, yowl with them, and play with them. It was too bad that full moons were so few and far between. The rest of the time, Bolt was merely human, or at least mostly so. For Bolt still had penguin blood surging inside him, which meant he could talk with the penguins and read their minds. But there was something deep inside the birds, a barrier that was hard and round and slightly crusty, and no matter how much Bolt tried to penetrate that crust, he couldn't quite do it. Before joining this colony, before even coming to Brugaria, Bolt had been an unwanted orphan. It seemed that no matter what he did or how far he traveled, he would never truly feel like he belonged somewhere, at least not completely. That was part of his curse, the curse of the werepenguin. As Bolt sat on his snowy hill, he rubbed his fingers against a slim gold chain around his neck. That chain had once held a killer whale's tooth, but the tooth had been lost when Bolt fought the Baron, the diabolical despot who had bitten Bolt and transformed him into a penguin monster. Bolt had won the battle, and now he sat here while the Baron's remains sat inside the stomach of an orca. After their fight, Bolt had led the penguins here, hundreds of miles away, and far from other people. Word of a young werepenguin who treated penguins not as his servants, but as his family, had spread far and wide. The tale had been told from the glubs of fish, the chirps of birds, and the legs of ice crickets. And so the penguin colony had grown. Bolt stood up, stretched his legs, and waddled down the hill. His walk was part penguin and part human, just like the rest of him. "Good afternoon," barked a nearby penguin. Bolt couldn't bark like a penguin, not in his human form, but he thought the words, "Good afternoon to you," and the penguin smiled, as best a penguin can, which is not much of a smile at all. Penguins show their emotions through their eyes, mostly. Beaks are not very expressive. As Bolt walked through the colony, nodding and smiling to his brothers and sisters, he heard a human shout. It took him a few seconds to realize he wasn't imagining it. There it was again, a girl's voice, calling out in the distance. No, that was impossible. The colony was at least 50 miles from any human town. "Bolt!" Or maybe it was possible. Bolt turned, and there, in the distance, stood a girl, waving. A short penguin sat next to her.